So we're apparently live.
That's fantastic. Let's check. Let's ask the audience. Can you hear us okay? Can you see us okay? Let us know that audio's good, that video's good. And actually, while you're at it, tell us where you're from.
All right, let's see in the chat, I guess. Not getting anyone.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Robert.
It's working.
Awesome. We still have a few more seconds, I guess, if we're going to stick to the time.
Yeah.
All right. That's 3 p.m. for me. Hi, everyone. My name is Anders Nilsson, and I'm with Advania. We're what we see it as the champions of spring here now in the Nordics, picking up the flag from Pivotal and everyone, and we're working with Broadcom. And from Broadcom here, I'm so happy to have DaShaun Carter, who's probably going to have to introduce himself a little bit later, but also Matthias from Jug. All right. So are you muted again?
Yep, Matthias, you're muted again.
Again, this is too hard for me, apparently. So thank you, Anders. Nice to be able to do this finally.
Finally, finally.
Webinars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we missed them since the COVID days, right?
Yes, we love them. But sometimes this is the only way you can do it, right? When you have guests that are not from nearby.
No, exactly. So, I mean, it was really hard to get DaShaun on this one. Yeah. Trying to pin him down. So where do we find you? DaShaun, where do we find you?
My name is DaShaun. I'm a Spring developer advocate. I love my job, and I'm really, really jazzed to be here. I'm based in the United States, in Kansas City, right outside of Kansas City, Missouri. But I'm lucky enough. I'm here in Amsterdam for a while, and this is where I'm at now.
Forced to do a webinar in your hotel room.
Yeah. But totally worth it. And it's not the first time, and I'm sure it's not the last time that I'll do a webinar from my hotel room.
Super. So, yes, my name is Matthias Karlsson, and I've been running the Java user group for a while, almost 20 years. And we did a bunch of lunch and learns during the pandemic, so that was a fun thing. This is very similar to this. Will be then fika and learning the Swedish way, 3 p.m. fika, right? And Anders, what do you do at Advania?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody who's using Spring Boot get all the support that they need. That's my main focus right now. I mean, I work with VMware and Tanzu stuff in general as well. So that's what I do.
That's pretty cool. And then as part of that...
But I am an old Java developer, so this really comes close to a part.
Everybody that doesn't code anymore always has to have some kind of excuse, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is the only way for me to actually get back to it, because I would suck. Be miserable
since I'm coding. Since I'm coding every day again now, so I call myself a recovering middle manager. So you might get there eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And as part of that, you're also then supporting the community. So we have done meetups together in the spring with Josh Long. Now we're doing this webinar, of course, and then you will be coming back and sponsoring the big JFocus conferences.
Oh, absolutely.
In February again.
Absolutely. So yeah, we can't stay away. I can't stay away now.
That's good.
So are we going to talk about the favorite topic of all developers now, upgrading dependencies in your code?
It's one of my favorite topics. It's popular. Sometimes it's popular for the wrong reasons. Recently, in the security world, there was a pretty severe situation that happened with the NPM libraries and the repositories, where I know some companies, they said, stop, don't use NPM packages. We're not pulling down. We're not going to sync to those central repositories anymore because of the risks involved. And across open source, right? Spring is an open source project, just like many others. But across open source, there has been raising levels of concern from not just developers, from startups to enterprises, but also governments, right? Governments and enterprises that are using this open source software. They want a little bit, they want to be able to sleep at night. They want to have some confidence that things are being taken care of. They worry about is anybody in line? Is anybody doing these supply chain attacks on these open source? It's a great vector, right? That we've been lucky to this point that things have worked out as good as they have for most of us. But yeah, the landscape is changing. Things are changing quickly, and as developers and as middle managers and enterprises alike, the landscape has changed so quickly that we have to react faster. The days of waiting, oh yeah, we'll patch all of our things every 90 days. Like that used to be kind of a staple, 90 days. And you heard companies that were patching all their stuff every 60 days, like, hey, they were doing great. But now we don't have that much time, right? We get a new Java version, not for patches, but we get a new Java version every 6 months. We get a new Spring Boot version every 6 months. We get a new Spring version every year. Kubernetes gets a new release every 4 months, I believe now. The ecosystem is moving fast. And in order to keep up, you have to have a muscle that allows you to change. Period. You've got to be comfortable making change. Some of us are old enough to remember the days where, oh, we're not going to touch production. We're going to hold it down and it's going to be frozen for 30 days or 60 days before we go to our busy season. And we're just going to freeze code. The bad actors, they love hearing that, right? Any CVE that gets released between October and Christmas, they're like, this is fantastic, because there's a lot of companies that are in freeze right now. They're not taking new code to production. So if a CVE comes out now, then we've got lots of targets that aren't patching. So this is a great opportunity for the bad actors. And when those CVE come, right, when they get released, there's 4 major databases, as far as I know, that are getting updated every 3 hours. So these new CVEs are coming every 3 hours from around the globe, from all different sorts of open source projects and commercial as well. And the bad actors are watching those because that's their dinner bell. That is their call. Hey, we've got a new opportunity to go work. That's what they do. So when that new CVE hits, the bad actors go to work. And our job, for some of us, for a lot of us, I don't want you to land up on the front page for the wrong reason. Our job is to reduce the amount of time, to make it as small as possible for when that CVE gets published to when that CVE is patched. That's it. We can do that. And if we've got the muscles to do that, then we're going to have long, happy careers. And we're not going to end up on the front page of the news for the wrong reason. Does that all make sense? Is that valuable stuff? Agreeable? Like the CVEs it's never changing. Thoughts? Matthias?
Yes. Oh,
Christina's
definitely valuable.
So what do we do? What tools, and I'll ask the chat, what tools are you using in order to keep your services patched, in order to keep your Spring Boot versions up to date? What are some of the tools that you're using? If you're on GitHub, you've probably been introduced to something called Dependabot. Dependabot is there. I think it's free to use, especially for your public repositories. Dependabot is something that has been around for a long time. But if you've been using Dependabot for any amount of time, you've been burned at least once. Because what Dependabot does is it goes in and it says, hey, I see that there's a new version. Renovate is another popular one. Yep. Thank you, Jorgen. And these tools oftentimes are just bumping versions. So take me from Spring Boot 2.7 to Spring Boot 3.0. Bump that version for me. But what they don't do, they just tell you that, hey, there's a new version. They're not fixing any code for you. So another angle here is you have this automation. You have these bots that are going in and they're recommending bump a version because there's a CVE. One of the benefits of Spring Boot is the release train, right? We've got this release train where we're pulling in all these dependencies. So you bump a Spring Boot version and you get all the dependencies are bumped for you. which is nice. It's one of my favorite features of Spring Boot. But in some organizations, you also have your security team. Your security team is looking and they're watching and they're saying, hey, there's a new CVE for this project and your repository is using it and you are now responsible for upgrading that. So whatever you're doing, whatever feature you had to do, whatever sprint you're working on has to stop until you fix this CVE, and they just keep on coming, right? They're not scheduled. It's not, hey, you get to wait 60 days anymore. It's, hey, this is the thing. You've got to go fix it. And in fact, the Spring community had a 10 out of 10. There's this CVSS score that is made public. So when we publish a CVE, that score goes along with it. And we had a 10 out of 10 not too long ago, maybe a month ago, on Spring Cloud Gateway. And in order for you to be exposed, you had to check all these boxes. You had to basically publish the actuator endpoints, and you had to have them unauthenticated, and you had to have the management endpoints enabled. So you had to do a lot of not great things in order to expose this risk, but it was there. We had to document it. So the way that works, we have researchers that are out in the community and they say, hey, I think I found something. I think I found a way to exploit something in the Spring ecosystem. And what do? From there, their job, they don't publish the CVE. They can't publish the CVE for the Spring community. They send it to the Spring team. And the Spring team then researches that. So we get something from a researcher, and the Spring team goes in to validate it, to validate that research. And when the Spring team, this kind of responsibility of the Spring team is, we do not publish that CVE until there's a patch made available. That's the big thing. So anytime you see a CVE that's published for the Spring ecosystem, what you get to understand, what you should know, is that CVE has already been patched. For the open source software, for the things that are still being maintained, right? If there's a CVE that's published for Spring Boot 1.5 today, the Spring team is not going to publish changes for that. They'll still publish the CVE. Yes, it's vulnerable, but the Spring team will not. They're not maintaining. It's a small team, and they can't maintain stuff that was released 10 plus years ago. So they will publish it. Yes, this is something, but you've got tons of opportunity to upgrade. And if it was something that was affecting Spring Boot 1.5 and affecting Spring Boot 3.5, which is the latest OSS release, then that 3.5 patch will be made in Maven Central, because today, Spring Boot 3.5, the latest OSS release, is still being maintained and it's still in public. So it's still being supported by our open source community. So what does that look like? I have a little tool. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to switch over to a demo and I want to show you what this could look like. So please hold. I'm going to share. We're going to make sure that you can see this. And I'm going to do this quick demo. I'm going to do this first. I'm going to make a change. No, I'm not. I'm going to run this. So here's my demo. We're going to start with Java 8. And I say up here, don't do this at home, right? Java 8's old. We're on Java 25 now, but I'm going to start here with Java 8. There's 462 builds of it. I'm pulling down a Spring Boot 1.5 application. So Spring Boot 1.5, again, 10 plus years old. We're going to start it. It's still going to run. You might have Java 8. You might have Spring Boot 1.5 running in production, and that's okay, depending on where it is, right? If it's exposed to the world, maybe not great. I'm going to show you that it's healthy. Spring Boot 1.5 running on Java 8 still runs. And here it's 544.5 megabytes. That's how much memory it's using at that time. So let's stop it. I'm going to show you one of the tools that's available for the Spring community, for our commercial customers, right? If you're a small startup, you're probably cruising and you're on the latest and greatest and you're in a good spot. But for some of our larger customers, they need a little bit of help. They have hundreds of thousands of repositories that are running in production with Spring and Java. Our little tool is trying to help them move forward quickly, keep up with the speed of Java, with the speed of Spring Boot. So this tool I ran into, it's called the Advisor CLI. It grabs some information about the repository. It's got 4 main things that it captures. This is the repository information, the SHA included, of where this code exists, where it's coming from. And this is showing you that there are 32 components So in a software bill of materials, the dependencies all the way down, there's 32 different libraries. This is just the artifact and group ID of all the modules that are in this repository in case there's more than one. And this is showing the versions of the tools. So it's showing Maven Wrapper 3.9.1 and Java 8, like we saw. But now let's see if we can upgrade. So this is showing me I got 16 steps. There are 16 steps that this is, again, coming from the Spring team. There are 16 steps. These are mini milestones to take you from Spring Boot 1.5 on Java 8 all the way up to Spring Boot 3.5.6, which I think is still the latest release, and a newer Java version. So what I'm doing here, I have this squash 16. Don't do this. I don't want you to do all these things at once. I want you to do them one at a time and then validate. Take it to production, validate. The first step is upgrading from Java 8 to Java 11. Upgrade from Spring Boot 1.5 to 2.0. Do these step by step. And this is the process that the Spring team is recommending to go safely. So you have small changes. But here we're just applying them all together because I want you to see it. It's a demo and I want it to go quickly in sake of time. So it's running these recipes, and these recipes are built on top of Open Rewrite. Open Rewrite is a framework that knows how to upgrade your code. So instead of just bumping versions, we're going to, in these recipes, it includes all the code changes that are necessary to go from Spring Boot 1.5 to Spring Boot 3, 3.5.6. We have not just the version bumps and the strategy that you would take there, but also the code changes that you need to make, those breaking changes. This is a simple application. So this is just a thin hello world application. It's not doing much, but there's still some code changes, and I'm going to show you those in a sec. But this is what's happening under the covers. And the idea here is you can do this at scale, right? You don't want to be the developer, especially in a company that has 100,000, yes, Open Rewrite, I love it too, 100,000 repositories. And the big number, I have one customer that has 140,000 repositories of Spring and Java. 140,000 repositories. Even if you have 45,000 Spring engineers, that's hard to keep up. So now we've done the upgrades. We're switching to Java 17. Just Java 17. We can switch to Java 25. It'll work just as fine. But now we can see that we're on Spring Boot 3.5.6. And yeah, we're going to see here in a second that it's healthy. We didn't open our IDE. And these are deterministic. There's no AI involved here. It's making changes at the bytecode level. It's using a lossless syntax tree. You can see that megabytes number, the memory that's being used now that we've upgraded, it's using less memory because of all the improvements in the Spring framework, all the improvements in the JVM. This is the out. Let's see if I can bump that up so you guys can see it. So the first run was Java 8, Spring Boot 1.5. That number is 0.964 seconds to start up. The other number is 544.5 megabytes. That's how much memory this little Hello World app was using. And then we spent a little bit of time. The whole demo took 269 seconds. We spent a little bit of time running these recipes, but there were 16 steps. So my recommendation here is in order to do this, you're doing them small steps at a time, incremental changes in order to go forward. But here's the thing. What we've done here is, yes, we patched. We fixed the CVEs. There are many. You can go and look and see all the CVEs that were available or that are still public against Spring Boot 1.5. We're now in Spring Boot 3.5.6, the latest version that's fully patched of Spring Boot. This is fantastic. So your security team, unfortunately, not unfortunately, like it's great, we're patched, but as a developer advocate, the security team is going to get credit for that. That nobody in the company is saying, hey, good job, Christina, for patching all those CVEs. Your security team is taking credit for that. Your security team is one that says, hey, we just patched 100 CVEs. Yes, pat on the back. But Christina, what the CISO, what the security team cannot take credit for are these other numbers. That's reduction in memory. That is a real number of how much memory your app is running in production. So if you're running hundreds of these, right, it's the interface for your mobile app for a big bank enterprise. If you've got hundreds of those apps running in production, that little 38% improvement, those 100 megabytes, multiplied by the hundreds of instances, but that's just for one app, right? And that's just one example. Depending on your use case, you might see even more or less, of course. But here's the thing. For the code that we took to production with Spring Boot 1.5 and Java 8, let's say it was in 2014 about, if I had done nothing since 2014, if I had done nothing, it would still cost me the same amount to run in production. It would still cost me that 544 megabytes, and I'd still be getting the same Java 8 performance, and it would cost as much to run. But now, if I'm running the same app in production, now that app literally costs me less, costs my company less to run in production. And guess what? We get an opportunity to do this every 6 months at a minimum, because we get a new Java version every 6 months, because we get a new Spring Boot version every 6 months. Now, for our commercial customers, with this tool, they're doing it constantly, all the time. They have a pipeline that's running that says, hey, run this little thing, see if there's any drift, see if there's a new version, and patch it. But it's not just bumping versions. So let's take a look at this code. Let's go in here. This is the repository that we check things out to, and I'm gonna just do a git diff. And what we can see here is it did change the Java version in this little property. In my SDK min, it changed the Java version. And also it bumped the Spring Boot version, as we would expect, right? Dependabot, Renovate, they can do that. Again, down here, Java 8, Java 17. I'm not sure if Dependabot and Renovate are bumping Java versions, but this is easy stuff. You can do this. This isn't hard to handle. But now we get into actual code. These recipes are actually making changes to your properties as well, right? We've changed. The defaults have changed over time. Breaking changes have changed over time. So we're improving those properties as well. And also we're covering your tests. So this is just a quick example of how Open Rewrite is working. If you haven't learned, if you haven't seen Open Rewrite, I want you to start there. Open Rewrite is amazing. It is a framework by a good friend of mine, Jonathan Schneider, who used to be on the Spring team as well. He's also the creator of Micrometer, another great project that we're doing at the Spring team. But this is where you should start. You should understand that there is a way to upgrade your software consistently. Again, we're not pulling in AI. If I run this recipe, the same set of recipes 1,000 times, I will get the exact same diff. This is fantastic. So this is the start. There's a tool out there. There's these Open Rewrite recipes that are out there, and there's actually public ones. So just to be fully transparent, you can go and you can try out Open Rewrite for free. It is an open source project just like Spring, and you can go and get your hands on recipes that will do a lot of the upgrade for you. So you can take this for a spin. You don't have to spend a dime. You can go and take it for a spin. There's just one little caveat. It's the open source recipes that are available are only going to get you to Spring Boot 3.3. And they're not going to cover all the things. So there's a lot of projects in the Spring ecosystem. And what's available in open source kind of covers the big spots, but there's gaps. So if you're using more than Spring Boot, if you're using any of the other Spring projects, you'll be interested in the advisor and all of the recipes that cover the rest of the Spring ecosystem as well. But start with Open Rewrite. Take it for a spin, see how easy it is. And I'll give you one more piece of advice. One of the things that we've learned, I've been using Open Rewrite since 2021, and I've worked with customers that were trying to do this automation. So before we had this Spring Application Advisor tool that I just showed you, before we were doing that, we were working with customers to try to help them automate Open Rewrite, to help them put it into some type of process. One of the things that we learned is it shouldn't be a part of your CI/CD process. It shouldn't be a part of your CI/CD process. We've learned some bad things. I'm going to stop this share. In CI/CD, that's your path to production. What you should have, again, lessons learned, what you should have is a separate process for continuous remediation. That's fixing your patching CVEs and continuous migration, upgrading, moving off of old frameworks, moving to newer versions of the frameworks. Spring Boot 4.0 is coming out here in November. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a tool like this Spring Application Advisor that could go in and upgrade all of your projects from Spring Boot 3.5 to Spring Boot 4.0? but that should not be a part of your CI/CD process. You don't want this affecting the path of production. You want it to be separate. What we are doing is when that tool is done, it is designed to be ran inside of these pipelines, inside of automation. And it's also designed to send you a pull request. So after it makes its changes, again, a change for each one of the 16 steps that we just saw, it'll send a pull request for that. So your experience is you wake up in the morning, yeah, CVE got dropped last night. You wake up in the morning and you're going to see a pull request, not an email from the security team saying there's a new CVE that you need to patch, but a pull request that fixes that CVE. That's the future of software. The most important feature of software today is its maintainability. How easy you can crank out more code, right? All the time. That's great. And getting that dopamine hit, that's fun. And now we've got more and more tools available to us to help us deliver software to production. But here's the thing. Now that we're seeing the reports, right? We saw the DORA report that came out recently that we are delivering more software to production. As an ecosystem, we're delivering more software to production, but we have more work to do now. Now that you're delivering software to production faster and you're delivering more code faster, what happens 5 years from now? Or even 2 years from now? Who's maintaining all of that code? Because here's the thing, as we're delivering more code to production faster, what we're not doing is hiring more people. We're not hiring more developers to maintain this code. We're expected to not only deliver more code to production, but also to take care of that code in production. So this is a tool. This is an answer for that, is we're taking more code to production, and that code that we just took to production 2 years from now, we want to make sure that it's patched, that it's on the latest and greatest, that it's getting all the advantages of Spring Boot, of the JVM, of all the things. And what you get to do as a developer is focus on the new features, focus on what's happening. And you have this thing that's taking care of you, this automation that's taking care of the software that's already running in production, the software that you're already building your enterprise on top of. That's the future. So I'm going to show one more. I'm going to go one step further. We took a Spring Boot 1.5. Actually, and I'm going to pause. My name is DaShaun. I'm a Spring Developer Advocate. I love my job and I'm jazzed to be here. When you come to my house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. So here during this webinar, if you've got questions, ask them in chat. I'm trying to keep an eye on chat. Ask them. If you leave here and you've got questions, that's your fault. We're not, there's no timeline here. We're not on anybody's schedule. So you've got questions, make sure you ask them. And then I'll share this next little demo. It's going to be very similar. Yes, ask your questions. So this was a simple one. And again, being out in the ecosystem. Oh, I'm going to do this. I can't see the bottom. I have the other screen up here. That's why I'm looking over my shoulder. Make sure that I'm all set. We're going to run another example. Thank you. This is the tool, Spring Application Advisor, Christina. And I will find, I think I have a good link. Let me find that link for you. I'll share the link, but that is the tool. It's the Spring Application Advisor that is built around Open Rewrite. So the recipes that it's using are all Open Rewrite recipes. But on top of the recipes, if you're going down the Open Rewrite path, if you've used Open Rewrite, one of the most difficult things is knowing when and where to apply those recipes. You can apply them, right? You can apply them all just at the expense of time of running all the recipes. Even if they don't do anything, you can apply them all, and that's fine. But that is the big difficult thing, is knowing when to apply the recipes. So if I give you a catalog of 300 recipes, some of them are for Spring Batch, some of them are for Spring Data. You've got to decide which ones need to get used where. You got to understand the dependency tree to know which ones need to get ran and at what time. That's one of the things. So the advisor does all of that work for you. The advisor tool knows the path that the Spring team took. It knows the order of operations that Spring Framework gets released, Spring Boot gets released, and that's the order. So it knows these things. Eric says, why not you, or Andrea says, why not use GitHub Copilot agent? That is a fantastic question. I addressed this already. The agents are non-deterministic. So if I give you an agent, are you going to put that into your pipeline, or are you going to give that to your developers? Because those agents, again, are non-deterministic. So if you run them 100 times, you're not going to get the same answer 100 times. The approach here is look at these open rewrite recipes. They're Java code in this case. They're Java code that knows and understands your Java code. And these recipes are coming from the Spring team. So these are not an agent that is trained on data from GitHub repository, but these are recipes that are coming from the Spring team to upgrade your Spring software. So there's a big difference in just that. But then there's the determinism. And how are you deploying all of this power? This is a very good question, and I'll say that we've seen a lot of customers go down that path. But if you're relying on a Copilot or some other AI code assist tool, you're putting it in the hands of developers, and the developers are still having the responsibility of doing the upgrades. And what you need, if you're going down that path, is you still need what's the safe milestone. I don't want to upgrade from Spring Boot 1.5 all the way to 3.5.6. That Copilot agent doesn't know all the breaking changes. It's not going to fix the logs. It's not going to fix the unit tests. What you need, if you're going down that path, is you need something that says, here's the safe milestone. I'm going to upgrade from Java 8 to Java 11 first. Then I'm going to upgrade from Spring Boot 1.5 to 2.0. And then I'm going to test it. I'll validate that in production. That's what you need. And I'm only saying that based on years of doing this with customers, it's an approach, and it definitely works. But there's also the cost. Using GitHub's LLMs, you understand that every token, every line of code that you send, every POM file that you send, that costs, and every response has a cost. So not only is this a difficult thing to manage and to measure, but it's very, very difficult to project. How much is it going to cost you to keep your ecosystem, your portfolio of software patched and updated if you're going down the approach of leaning into an LLM, even if you're not using one of the public LLMs, right? I don't have Cloud Money. I have Raspberry Pi Money. I'm running my LLMs on my Mac. Even if I go down that path, how much time does it take me to do that manually? So I'm here to advise you. Like, they're great tools. And at a one at a time thing, that's a good opportunity. What I'm trying to say is, at scale, there's a better way. Lean into these recipes that you can trust just as much as you trust your unit tests, because you're going to get the same result every time. But that is a good question. Eric says, our team has our own shared parent POM that has a Spring Boot parent POM as its parent. Will advisor manage the project structure where the Spring Boot parent is not a direct dependency? This is one of the things that we run into a lot. And if you've used the open source open rewrite recipes, you've probably ran into this problem already. It doesn't recognize that this is a Spring Boot project, so it doesn't know that it should run. And we've seen a lot of approaches, and Eric, you're not alone. There's a lot of customers that have that same thing. They have, hey, this is our framework, we're managing all the dependencies, but that team that has been doing the management, they might even have a really mature release cycle where they release 2 weeks after a Spring Boot release. They release their new version of their framework that's wrapped around. And that works. So what you can do is you can still leverage these recipes. It takes a little bit of work. It's not going to work right out of the box, but you can leverage these recipes to make it work. And you can easily write your own recipes and add them to the Spring Application Advisor. So the Advisor tool, not only does it have all the recipes for the Spring ecosystem, but it also has this really nice approach to how to deliver these recipes. So I'm gonna go through this demo, and I'm gonna come back to that. But Eric, you have an approach, you have a way that you can add your own recipes for that parent POM. But what the other strategy that a lot of our customers are doing that I'm advising is, instead of having your own parent POM, pull your parent POM, your framework, pull that into a bill of materials and use the Spring Boot parent POM. And it's going to do a couple of things. First, it allows us to run the recipes a little bit easier. but also that team that's taking care of the framework, they have less work to do. So if you're pulling that shared parent problem, if you pull those dependencies into a bill of materials, the things that are not covered in the Spring release train, if those get pulled into a bill of materials, then this becomes easy. When Spring Boot 3.5.7 gets released, your framework team doesn't have anything to do. You can upgrade to Spring Boot 3.5.7. You can still use the same versions of everything that is included in that bill of materials. And I'm happy to help you. So hopefully that was valuable. And Oscar says, do we have some comparison matrix between the open source version and the paid one? I don't think that there's a comparison matrix, because here's the thing. They are two different things. The open source open rewrite has Maven plugins, and it has a way to deliver those. But then the open source recipes, there's a smaller catalog. So what you get by moving to the Spring Application Advisor is you get a known strategy. You get the same upgrade path that the Spring team has been using for all the Spring projects. Also, you get a catalog of all the recipes for all the Spring projects. Those are the two main things that I'll leave for this webinar. But that's a good question. And if you'd like to know more, we'll bring Anders back later, and I'm going to give you his contact information, because we can get you those answers. We'll help you, make the right decision for sure. So I'm going to continue on this. This is just another demo, but what I'm doing here, I'm still starting with Java 8, but I'm going to pull a different project. I'm going to pull something a little bit more complex. I want to show you some of the benefits that you get by using the larger catalog. So we're grabbing a Spring Pet Clinic. Spring Pet Clinic is that project that we use to demonstrate the patterns of Spring ecosystem. So Spring Pet Clinic is what we're pulling down. We're going to start it up. It's starting up just fine, but it's on Spring Boot 2.7.3. 2.7.3 is old, right? I love the Pet Clinic as well. But the latest, if you're running Spring Boot 2.7, the latest version of Spring Boot 2.7, let me pull this. Yeah, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to stop sharing this one. I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to show you another screen. These are all of the versions that are in this repository. So here's another big gap between what's available in open source and what's available in the paid version. When you do the paid version of Spring, when you get the Spring supported version, you get all of these commercial releases. So Spring Boot 2.7.3 is old. Spring Boot 2.7.18 is the latest open source version. So if you go to Maven Central, the latest version you'll see is Spring Boot 2.7.18. But we've had several releases here since then. Since we stopped supporting open source of Spring Boot 2.7, since we stopped doing that, we've had several. So here's 2.7.19 all the way down to 2.7.29.2, which just came out a couple of days ago. So what does that mean? It means you can still be on, if you've got Spring Boot 2.7 running in production, you can still be running Spring Boot 2.7, but you get access to these patched versions. There's been CVEs, not just in Spring Boot, but in its release train, other dependencies, and those have all been patched. So without having to move the world to get all the way to 3.5.6, you can still stay secure on Spring Boot 2.7.29.2, the latest version. But these are only available. These releases are not available in Maven Central. These releases are only available in the Spring Enterprise repository. Let me show what that looks like real quick. Oop. You might have something like this, something like Nexus or Artifactory. What we're doing here is I'm pointing to the Spring Enterprise repository, right? So this is my Nexus, my local cache that's pulling down, not just from Maven Central, but this is pulling down those versions. Let's see if we can find IO Spring or org, Spring Framework boot, right? These are the commercial versions, the 2.7.21, 2.7.29, right? Those are the commercial versions. So this repository is pointing to that Spring Enterprise repository to pull down those commercial versions. And you can pull down 3.5.6 from Maven Central, but if you need a commercial LTS release, those are coming from a different repository that only our commercial customers have. So that's another big differentiator. Yeah, and maybe that's worthwhile for you. But let's go back. Let's jump back to our release. That was running Spring Boot 2.7.3. We're going to make sure that it's healthy. Of course it's healthy. It's a demo. This one is running 760. It's a little bit bigger than a Hello World. It's running 765.3 megabytes. We're going to stop it. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to run the advisor tool. Advisor, build config git, right? This is where it's capturing all the metadata about the repository. This is easy. This is what it's doing. All of that is built into the advisor CLI. It's designed so that it can even be ran in a air-gapped environment. So now that we have our build config JSON, we can take a look. Again, here's the 4 top-level keys. There's the get metadata that we saw before. This one has 84 dependencies. So in that software bill of materials, this is how you are tracking where you're at risk. The CVEs that are coming, that are getting published, your security team says, in that list of 84 dependencies, you're using something that's unpatched. They're using that software bill of materials to decide that. Here's the submodules. This time it's the Spring Pet Clinic, Group ID, and Artifact ID. And the tools. We're using a little bit newer version of Maven Wrapper, and we're still using Java 8. So now let's go. Let's do this plan. So this time, I'm on Spring Boot 2.7. So the number of steps that I have is less, right? I've only got 8 steps to get here to the latest version of Spring Boot 3.5. The first step, it says, is upgrade from Java 8 to Java 11. You can stay on Spring Boot 2.7.3, do the Java 11 upgrade, and then it's saying do the 11 to 17 upgrade because you don't have to change any code. These are the lowest risk, safe milestones to get you to the latest and greatest. And we've learned this. This is the order of operations. This is your strategy, whether you're using this tool or not. If you're trying to upgrade to the latest and greatest, this is the approach that you want to take. After we do that, then we'll upgrade from Spring Boot 2.7 to Spring Boot 3.0. But it's going to get the latest version of Spring Boot 3.0. It's going to get the latest commercial patched release of Spring Boot 3.0, not just the ones that are available in the open source. So this is our strategy. I have now 8 steps to get me from Spring Boot 2.7.3 to Spring Boot 3.5. And it's doing all these. Each one of these steps is a little milestone. It's got a small chunk of changes that you can go in and validate, because what we saw early on before we had this tool is the open rewrite recipe of recipes was going to take you and it would do all these at once, just like I'm going to do now. But if there was a problem, your process was, let me go back to the beginning and do these things one at a time so I can find the bug. Well, we're just trying to avoid that step. In your pipelines, do not do the squash. Hear me now, listen to me later. Don't do the squash. Don't do what I'm doing. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm only running the squash command because this is a demo and I'm going to show you this for sake of time. So here I'm saying, hey, just do all 8 of them, but don't do this. I'm applying those changes. If I don't do that squash 8, it'll only do the first recipe. It'll only do that first milestone. And that's your loop. Make sure I've got something. Go do that first milestone. Do them one at a time and then go validate it. And then take it to production and then do the next one. And with each one of these milestones, guess what? You're patching CVEs. You're moving closer to the latest and greatest that's available in Spring. And you're saving your company money, like real measurable money, because your footprint, your memory footprint is improving. The performance of your workloads is improving with each one of these milestones because we've been investing in this, right? This is what we're doing. So you get to take advantage of all the work that's being done by the Java team and by the Spring team, one step at a time, continuously. Matthias, do you have a question?
Nah, not really. You can continue, but I have something cooking.
All right, this is going to take a little bit. We're running these recipes and it's upgrading us to the latest and greatest. But what I want to do now is I want to show you, it's not just bumping versions. I want to show you some real code changes, some heavy code changes in a project that's bigger than a Hello World. So again, it's running all the recipes. Again, it's a bigger code base, so it's taking a little bit longer and I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi, but that's okay. There was one other thing that I wanted to show, but I'll come back to it. So we're doing our upgrades. This is easy. this is the experience that I want you to have. But here's the thing. I don't even want you to be using this tool. If you're in a place where you don't have the pipelines or the infrastructure to run this at scale, good question. Samuli, I hope I'm saying that right, says, do the tools support or have recipes for Kotlin? Let's do this. While that's running, we're going to let those recipes run. I'm going to go show you something else. Let me go back to this window. I got to switch to it. I'm going to go back to this window. And I want you to see. This is OpenRewrite. This is the open source recipe catalog. There are recipes for everything. They just announced JavaScript support. So OpenRewrite as a framework is amazing. You've got stuff, not just Java, not just Kotlin. You've got all sorts. Here's your Kotlin recipes. And if you want to include those in your pipelines, the advisor tool will let you apply Kotlin recipes or any of the recipes that are from the open source as well. So our tool allows you to take these recipes to production at scale as well. But to be clear, our recipes are for the Spring ecosystem and just the Spring projects. So that's what you're getting with the advisor tool. But OpenRewrite as a framework that this is built on top of gives you support for all sorts of languages. And that's pretty amazing. So that's a great question. Hopefully that was valuable. But yeah, I want to show one more thing that we're addressing here. Right? Because this is why. If I go here to support, I'm going to blow this out. This is another interesting thing. In order to keep up, right, we've had this kind of consistent way of delivering. The green bars show you the open source support, how long we're in open source support. If I go up here to Spring Boot 3.4 is going out of open source support because we're going to be at Spring Boot 4 here next month. So when Spring Boot 4 comes out, Spring Boot 3.4 will no longer be supported in OSS. But if you've got the commercial support that includes this Spring Application Advisor, you're going to continue to get support for Spring Boot 3.4 for a couple more months or for another year. But what we've done here, you can see these two bars that are unlike the others. For the last minor version of every major version, so Spring Boot 2.7 is the last minor version of the Spring Boot 2.0 branch, it gets 6 years of commercial support. Spring Boot 3.5 is the last minor of the Spring Boot 3 release, and it's going to get 6 years of support, commercial support. So this is another one of those differences, and this is a kind of recent change to follow along with the rest of the ecosystem, with the rest of what open source is doing. Open source has changed, and in order to get projects that are supported, there's been a move to change how long we're going to support things. We can no longer support things from 10 years ago. And there are companies that will happily take your money to support code that's 10 years old and get that 10-year-old performance. But the real benefit, the real like front of the pack where I want you to be, they're building these muscles to move towards the latest and greatest, to get all the advantages of their ecosystem automatically, continuously at scale. And I'll show this picture as well. I'm DaShaun. I've got DaShaun.com. And I've talked about this at scale. I've talked about this in many presentations, but I want to just show this picture. CI/CD, right? Get to production, do that. That's great. But there's more stuff going to production. This is what I want you to do. This advisor tool built on top of OpenRewrite is going to build a pipeline that says, hey, look at my repository and see, has there anything changed? Is there anything for me to do? And if there is, fix it for me. Don't send me a CVE. Don't send me a notification to go fix it. Fix it for me. That's what the advisor tool is doing. It's giving you a pull request. So if you give it after you do the apply, you say -- push, it'll push a pull request for you to your repository so that you can validate it, run your unit tests, your smoke tests, your integration tests. And your experience is going to look like this. I'm going to just my GitHub and I go over here and I look at my pull requests. I'm getting these pull requests from my pipelines. Let's go take a look at it. I got one change, nice and easy, a small change, a minor change. I feel comfortable doing a patch. This is the nice. This is the experience. I'm going to keep on working on my features, my backlog, my sprint that I'm on. And when I get a chance, I'm going to go and I'm going to merge some of these pull requests. I'll go validate them first, but I'm going to merge some of these pull requests. That's the experience. That's the future of software. That's really exciting. So let's go back. Let's go back. Our recipes should be done. Done running. Let's go back and take a look at something that's bigger than a hello world. Our recipes are done. I'm switching to Java 25 this time because it's been out for a long time. Java 25 is already middle-aged. We're going to get Java 26 right around the corner. Oscar says, what company is behind the supported Spring versions and the advisor? That is VMware Tanzu, which is now owned by Broadcom. So Broadcom, the company that I work for, that employs the main committers to everything Spring, they all work for Broadcom. The recipes that are coming out of this product, everybody works for Broadcom. They are coming directly from the Spring team. That is a good question. There's a lot of other frameworks that were trying to do this. There's a lot of products that were actually trying to use AI to do this automation and do it at scale. And now we're going to see other things, but this is the consistent way to do it. This is the way that we can have confidence, Broadcom can have confidence giving this to our enterprise customers, our global 2000, the companies that you all know and trust in your day-to-day, in order for them to take care of those massive software portfolios that are built on top of Spring. In order for them to do that at scale, this is the solution. This is the solution that we're recommending. And it's all coming from the Spring team. So when you run these recipes, it's like you have the Spring team helping you, like they're pairing with you. So this is it. So we're switching to Java 25. All of these changes were from the Spring team. Now I'm on Spring Boot 3.5.6 running Pet Clinic. I didn't open my IDE. And if I run this again, it's going to work. It's going to work the same way. I'm going to get the exact same changes. I'm going to get the exact same results. It's still healthy. I don't have to go in and show the application. It's Spring Pet Clinic. You can go and run this demo. It's in my GitHub repositories. And then here, we went from 700 megabytes down to 447. But wait, there's more. Because when you get to Spring Boot 3, right, you also get to take advantage of all the other things. One of my favorite features, one of the big things that I was really excited about with Spring Boot 3 is, we're going to look at the diffs. So here's the diffs. We're looking at, hey, let's go back up. I hit the enter a couple of times. So here's our diff. I've got Javox to Jakarta, right? The things that you had to do, that Javox namespace to Jakarta, that had to happen. Your IDEs are taking care of that for you as well. Not that big of a deal, but things like this owners/owner ID in Spring Framework 5 and Spring Boot 2.7, this endpoint here would work with a trailing slash or without. So you might have had this get mapping, but you might have been using a trailing slash. But our recipes, these recipes, they make sure that your code behaves the same. It doesn't modify the way your code behaves. It's going to make sure that your code behaves the same after the recipes are done. So with these change in defaults, breaking changes, we've actually managed to make your code still work, even though the defaults have changed. So those are some of the examples. We had the Javox to Jakarta. There's some other interesting ones. Let's keep going. Get mappings. Again, property changes, test changes from mock bean to Makito bean. And then there's a serialization one. Here we go. We went from utils.serialize to then deserialize. We said, hey, you know what? There's a better way. Let's just clone it. Instead of doing a serialize and deserialize, just do a clone. Does the same thing, better code. But your code is still going to behave the same. This is powerful, right? This is the way to move forward. So here we are. I had much 4% faster startup time, which is a good proxy for other performance. But also this time I saved 42% of my memory footprint. But now that I'm on Spring Boot 3, the other thing that I can do is I can build those native images. So the native images give me even more benefits, other benefits. But with Java 25, I can do the AOT caching, so I can start up faster, even faster, and have even better memory. We're just doing straight up Maven Spring Boot run here. We didn't take advantage of any of the other hooks that we have that are made available with the latest versions of Java. So I showed you a couple of demos. Hopefully I let you understand that it's more than just CVEs. The reason why we want to stay on the latest and greatest, there's other benefits. Right now, you get to take advantage of all the cool technology. I don't know if you've heard Spring AI is a thing. In order to use Spring AI, you've got to be at least on Spring Boot 3.3. So my name is DaShaun. That's all the demo that I have for you. What questions do you have? Matthias, what do you think?
So I'm thinking actually how many of these kind of prompts you get if you're transforming a big system that you have built. I mean, if you are moving between two major versions, and I mean there will be a number of different suggestions on how to improve your code and some of the recipes and some of the things that stopped working. Since Java is very stable, most things continue to work, but there's always things that will change.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. Oh, here we go. You can see maybe part of that picture. I draw this a lot.
It looks good.
I draw this a lot. There are problems, right? Here's the thing. At a minimum, 15% of your code is going to work. Out of the box, we start today. If you take it across your 100 or 1,000 or tens of thousands of repositories, at a minimum of all the Global 2000 customers that I've worked with, 15% of them are going to upgrade to the latest and greatest with zero problems, because we've been doing this for a while. At the high end, 70%. That's been reported back to me. 70% from starting from zero, 70% of that software that you're running in production is going to upgrade without any problem. There's going to be a bucket of hard things, right? Who was it? Eric, I think, addressed like, oh yeah, we have a parent wrapper. We have this POM file. We can address that. But that's going to be in this hard spot, but we only have to address it once, because we're going to write a recipe for it. And we're going to let the advisor tool apply that recipe as it needs to. But there's common utils. You've got this common util thing that everybody depends on that's still compiled against Java 8, still using old APIs, and that's going to be a blocker. But here's the big thing, is when you're running this at scale, you're going to see how many of my repositories are blocked by the wrapper. How many of my repositories are blocked by the common util? You now got a North Star that tells you which thing to focus on next, which code needs to be unblocked, which one has the higher priority. You will get a North Star of all the things that have not automatically been upgraded. So that's how we work. And as soon as you write that recipe, and that's our guidance, is you're writing open rewrite recipes. You're not doing it manually, because you want to do it at scale and you want it to be consistent. Because if I had 20 developers upgrading for that common util fix, and they were all using the Copilot agent, there might be 20 different solutions. So it's not a bell curve, right? Every company is a little bit different on what's in the hard bucket, but you're also going to find that you've got code that's not worth investment. We're looking at things at a repository approach. The repository, the software, is the artifact today, right? Because it's being delivered to mainframes, it's being delivered to the edge, or VMs, or bare metal, or in a container, on something like Cloud Foundry. The software doesn't need to change. How it's packaged, how it's delivered, that might change. But that's the artifact that we care about, and that's the way that we're now addressing this, is on a per repository basis. And this is what we do. Yeah, we'll run into things. It's not going to work. It's not a magic bullet. It doesn't know about your common util or your common logging. It doesn't know about that thing that the guy wrote 5 years ago and he's left the company. It can't do that. But here's what it can do. If you've got a GitHub Copilot, what you can do now with a lot of the LLMs that are available, you can ask them to help write an open rewrite recipe. I do recommend this. Use the LLM tools to help you write. They understand open rewrite. Open rewrite is the framework that is one, and they will help you write a good recipe for your code that you can then deliver with the advisor tool. Oscar says, what about support for non-Spring Boot projects or plain vanilla Spring framework with loads of XML? Guess what? I said Spring, so not just Spring Boot. We have recipes that cover the entire Spring ecosystem. So yes, your Spring framework projects will get upgraded. Now, We don't have, actually, I'm going to pause on that. We might have some recipes that are upgrading your XML to annotation based, but the XML annotations are going to work up until Spring Framework 7. So with that, I would expect some recipes that are going to convert you as well. So Oscar, stay tuned on that question, but good questions. Here's the other thing. It's not just your Spring projects. The advisor being built on top of Open Rewrite can leverage your recipes that are not Spring. You can pull in your recipes and run them with the advisor tool at scale. Great questions. Great questions. And you know how to get a hold of me. My website, Matthias put in the chat. Any other questions you have, I am here. We're here. Matthias, what other questions do you have?
No, I don't really have any more questions now, and we're kind of running out of time. But it's great that we can reach you on your website.
Oh, yes. You can reach me out with Christina. Thank you for that. Yes. But my repository, all of my demos are on my GitHub repository. And you know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for your time. I know everybody's busy. This has been a real pleasure. Anders, thank you so much for setting this up.
Yeah, absolutely. And whoever wants to see DaShaun live, you should push Matthias to get him onto JFocus, right?
Yes.
In February.
When is JFocus?
Yeah, and Josh Long will be there, and some other speakers as well. So that will be fun.
When is it?
It's first week of February, 2nd to 4th of February.
Okay, fantastic.
But before that, we have a Java forum or a JUG meeting in person again, 4th of November in central Stockholm. We will be at Dataföreningen Kompetens this time. So we will send the announcement for that tomorrow. So anybody on this meeting will have about a couple of hours a head start to register if you want to join that.
Fantastic.
So that will be fun. Super.
Yeah. And then, of course, I have to put in the plug here as well, is that if you guys want to try this out at your companies, then you just feel free to reach out.
How do we get
we can help you with that.
Andrew,
so my email should be in the invite and the contact details to all this stuff, and you'll probably get a nice little email from my marketing department as well, thanking you for being on this call. And anyway, thank you, DaShaun. Great as always.
Thank you so much for having me.
Entertaining us, and just wish I was a programmer again.
we can try to get you back into. It's you can get some AI support these days and have a decent programmer.
Exactly, makes it a whole lot easier, right?
Yeah, to produce a lot of code, not only good.
No, exactly. Well, it's called vibe coding. I love it, right?
Super. Okay, that's I guess that's a wrap then.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.